things like that, because it was taken, that particular role in particular was taken pretty seriously. So it says, Deuteronomy 18:18, I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their fellow Israelites, and I will put my words in his mouth. He will tell them everything I command him. I myself will call to account anyone who does not listen to my words that the prophet speaks in my name. But a prophet who presumes to speak in my name anything I have not commanded, or a prophet who speaks in the name of other gods, is to be put to death. So it's a very, it's a very, very serious title.
And the scripture talks about being a teacher being held
at a stricter judgment. Yeah, so not everyone want to be a teacher or aspires to be a teacher to have a stricter judgment, because you're actually in a position to mislead people, and so it's a dangerous thing. Baptized converts need to be taught, and if you teach them the wrong thing, they'll believe the wrong thing, so they behave the wrong way, and God doesn't get the body that he needs in order to function to carry out his ministry, because the leaders have taught the people in error. So we have to be very careful what we teach.
Which leads us into the next question. So how should one know that they've been called to serve in these roles?
Well, that's a loaded one. That's a loaded question. When it comes to calling, I would recommend a book, and I'll try to get to it, but I would recommend a book called The Call by Os Guinness. It's a book we used in seminary. The Call by Os Guinness. Oz talks about calling from all the different aspects that are out there, so he'll give you the more concise overview of what calling is. But how do we know that we've been called to one of these particular roles? Calling is confirmed primarily, I'll just speak for myself. My calling, I read from, and most people do. It's confirmed in the idea that you can't get away from it. It's something that the Spirit of God is speaking to you that you would, in many cases, rather not do, but it's something that you can't shake. Jeremiah said for him, his calling was like fire shut up in his bones. I mean, he couldn't put it down. God had called him to do something. He had to do it. Jonah tried to do it, and his calling going to Nineveh, and he finally had to relent after he got into the belly of the fish. Moses' calling was called in the backside of Midian through a burning bush, and he had 4 excuses, the reason why he couldn't do it. God had called him to do it first until he finally relented. So calling is something that's on you and you can't put down. Paul, we see his calling on the road to Damascus. And it was the blinding light that put him on his backside, and he finally realized what he was doing in error. And so it's the Spirit of God moving on the heart of an individual that's calling them to do something, pastor, teacher, evangelist, whatever it is, any of the gifts that you will see, to the degree that they can't let it go. They just can't set it aside. For young Samuel, on this same area, I went back and looked at when Samuel was being called with Eli. Eli is the prophet, and Samuel is asleep, and he thinks Eli's calling him, and he gets up 3 times and says, "Did you call me?" He said, "No." He said the 3rd time, he said, "It must be God calling you, son. Just say yes, Lord." And so sometimes it's that still small voice, and sometimes it's a loud voice, like in a situation like what Paul experienced on the road to Damascus, that calls you to actually say, God is calling me to do something, and I have to do it because there's no rest without it. And personally, I had no rest until I surrendered. And so it's one of those situations whereby usually the person has gone through something of that nature to where they couldn't rest without yielding to the Spirit of God. So,